Well, believe it or not, it is March. It's very late March. In fact, it's almost April. Tomorrow's the 31st. And but it's been almost like May around here for most of March. And it's certainly kind of like April today, except for the fact that we haven't seen much rain. But it's been continuing on to be uncharacteristically mild, as this whole winter was. And now it looks like we're having an early spring too. But Frankie's got his shamrock scarfie on, because it is still March anyway. And he's pretty focused on what things are going on outside the garden. He's pretty sure he could fly and get those birdies if he just could get outside the fence. But he'll get focused in the interior of the garden pretty soon. Meanwhile, Jessie's over here, and because we're so close to April and Easter, she's wearing her Easter egg scarfie, and so we're sort of celebrating March and a little bit of April too, because it's been so mild and it's so lovely out. And of course, we like to see snow during the winter, but it's still nice to see stuff coming up, even though we didn't have much of a winter. And we got stuff happening already in the garden. This is chives, which was it's been warm enough so that I actually got in and divided them a little bit so that they're now growing in four nice little clumps. And you can see we've got daffodils starting to come up there. We've got daffodils blooming all over the place, which usually doesn't happen until April. And you can see the pet memorial area is all nice and cleaned up. We have done quite a bit of work because of all this nice weather we're having. Those are about to bloom. Not a whole lot to show you as far as the beds go, other than the fact that they've all been tilled and are ready to go. I have done some planting. This is peas here. There's a snow pea pods and regular sugar snap peas. Also beets, lettuce, 3 varieties of lettuce, 2 varieties of carrots, and 2 varieties of radishes, all planted where those markers are, and nothing's come up yet, but they should be coming up soon. And here's an example of some blooming daffodils. These guys usually don't bloom till April, as I said, and if you look closely you can see that this cluster of them are almost done for. There's a couple of nice ones still hanging around, but that's the case all over the place. We've got all our usual April happenings are happening now. This is garlic, the only other thing where there's some actual activity. And I expected to be a few more shoots up by now, but they are coming up. And this one is one that actually wintered over, so it's a little further along than the others. The only other thing where there's some activity, and I'll intercut a little bit for you here, is the asparagus, which I'm starting to see some shoots come up, and that's usually pretty early that we see that. It's a nice spring harvest. Meanwhile, like I said, all the beds that are going to be tilled are tilled, but not a whole lot of activity. We're expecting some rain tonight, and a cold rain at that, but that should help get things up and going. Now, I have decided a little bit what I'm going to do with the garden this year, since I'm not doing much in the way of winter squash and pumpkin or melons. I'm only doing some summer squash. Out in the far garden there, where the giant pumpkins usually grow, I'm going to do a mixture of Indian corn and popcorn. So there'll be plenty of room for lots of rows. That should be fun to try. And I'll still have room in here for eaten corn. And I think in this last bed here, which normally is winter squash, I'm going to do a bed of sunflowers just for the fun of it. Because if they get big and do well, that'll be a fun crop to just look at, if nothing else. And then I'll do regular eaten corn, probably in this next bed right here. And I haven't figured out where everything else is going to go, but I got a rough idea of what's going to happen out here. So let me show you one other thing here, a little clip of the other thing that goes on a lot in March and also in April, which is starting things indoors under the lights. So take a look at this. This was starting, let's see, peppers and eggplant, I think. So take a look. So that's about it for March, and darn close to April. Everything's all cleaned up. Finally got all the wood cleaned up from around the property because of that October snowstorm, and all the branches that we had down. In fact, all our ornamental pears out in the front driveway are all history now, cut down and stacked as firewood. But it's nice to get it all cleaned up, and now we've got a generator and a couple of sub panels, so we'll never be without power for 5 days again. In fact, we'll probably never be without power for more than an hour if I happen to be away from the house when the power goes out. But other than that, we'll be fired up and running within minutes after losing the power if we need to, so that's kind of fun. And other than that, you know, we've got flowers and stuff blooming around the property, like I said. And we're heavy into spring. I don't think we're going to see any more snow or any more hard freezes even. I could be wrong. Every once in a while we get a snowstorm in April, but I don't see that happening this year at all. So that's pretty much going to do it. We got the umbrella up and the flag's gone, and we've been sitting out here several evenings already, because it's been nice enough, and Frankie still thinks maybe he can get to some of these critters that are outside the garden, but he's happy to sniff around inside the garden as well. And golly, like the saying goes, I think that's going to do it. Again, welcome back to the garden, which is now officially open and active, and looks to be hopefully a fun year for all of us who enjoy gardening. And hopefully you'll come back for another visit, and we'll see you in April next month. Things really should be picking up out here during the month of April, and we'll have a plant rack full of stuff under the lights, and also we'll probably get things going in the mini greenhouse here. Oops, did I aim that right? Probably not. There it is. So we'll have a lot of activity next month, but meanwhile we are enjoying the early spring that I think the groundhog actually predicted this year. So he was right. It was definitely an early spring. Everything bloomed early, and it's continuing to be warm. Anyway, I'm rambling as I normally do. That's all we got to show you for March. Off to a good start, feeling good about the garden. It's going to be kind of a different garden this year, which is also fun, and growing some fun new stuff. So we'll get a tally of all that stuff maybe next month, and we'll see you next month in April. Marvin Gardens, March 2012. See you next time. Bye. Right, Frankie?
It was 24 degrees, and the relative humidity 27%. The wind was calm. The pressure 29.93 inches and steady. Some conditions for nearby portions of eastern Pennsylvania at 6 p.m. It was sunny, with a temperature of 53 at Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, 55 at Lake Hastur. High pressure will drift offshore tonight as low pressure from the Ohio Valley advances eastward into our region. By Saturday night, low pressure will pass offshore as weak high pressure briefly builds over the area.